to your house.
This is fantastic. There we go. I didn't know I was going to have to do some physical exercise here.
Welcome to Russia. Chemical content, it's like single malt whiskey.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Luke Jones The Other Way. We're here in downtown Moscow, the very heart of the city, in front of a fantastic restaurant called Matryoshka. Now, for those not in the know, a matryoshka is a wooden doll where you have lots of other little wooden dolls inside, the kind of things you buy as souvenirs to take home. Now, this is a fantastic setting because on my left we have the Hotel Ukraine, one of the Stalin-type wedding cake buildings, and over on my right we have the White House. We couldn't be better situated. And obviously, I'm not going to be eating and drinking on my own this evening. I have the lovely Nargiz who's going to be coming to join me.
Hi.
Here we are, we're going to go and check out what it looked like inside a restaurant back at the end of the 19th century. Let's go. Now this restaurant, Matryoshka, is decorated in the beautiful style of late 19th century pre-revolutionary Russia. So we have the samovars here that, as we've said before, means self-boil. So they keep the hot water warm. And we have the sushki, which are little tiny hard bread donuts. And then most importantly, we're going to come on to the drinks, and we have the lovely Lyubava, who's going to be serving us this evening. Can we have a drink, please, Lyubava? Now, savor this. You didn't think we were going to be drinking tea this evening, did you? Good evening. We're now in the lower part of the Matryoshka restaurant, and I'm joined by several guests. We have Vlad here, who is the head chef of the Matryoshka restaurant. We have Ruslan, who's an expert on alcohol in Russia, and in particular vodka. And Nargiz, my colleague, who's going to be joining me in a tasting of both food and drink here. This is where the action starts, where we have the food and drink, the best bit. I'll just take you through a few of the things that we're going to be sampling this evening. We start off with this pot here of kvass, which is fermented bread. It's very lightly alcoholic. We have mors, which is a type of cranberry berry juice, also non-alcoholic, but that comes in handy when we get to the vodka. And we have some craft beer. And obviously, we need a few snacks to begin with. So Nadezhda here has very kindly provided us with a few little pies to whet our appetites. Now, one of the things that Russia is famous for is vodka drinking. But there's also a lot of myths associated with how vodka is actually drunk. So in addition to actually just drinking it this evening, we're going to be showing you some of the traditions associated with it. But it's not just vodka, as I showed you. There's mors, the berry juice, there's the kvass, and I'm even going to start off with a little sip of beer. Cheers. So, onto the serious part of the evening, the tradition of how vodka is actually drunk. Now, one thing you don't do is just sit there and knock back shots of vodka. There's always food involved, but it's a bit more complicated than that. So therefore, I'm going to hand over to Ruslan, our expert here, who's going to tell us a little bit about how it's properly done.
Yes, you are right. Not so much people in Russia drinking vodka neat without zakuski, without any food. What we will taste today, what Luke will taste today, it's authentic historical Russian vodka. It's made like single malt whiskey in Scotland. It's triple distilled like in Ireland. And it's from different grains. It can be rye, wheat, buckwheat, and so on. It's called Polugar, and it's private distillery Rodionov and Sons who is producer. So it's a small company, small batch spirit. I pass to Luke a shot of this Polugar, and we will show you a test how Russians tested quality of the spirit in 19th century. You take your glass in the right hand and you pour on the left hand half teaspoon.
Okay, just a tiny bit.
One drop. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
And then you rub your hands very quickly until it's very, very hot and very, very dry.
Oh, goodness.
Take your time, it's about 1 minute of rubbing.
I didn't know I was going to have to do some physical exercise here.
To check the raw material from what is made the spirit if it's not aged. It's only one way to check for consumers.
Oh,
And
it's hot now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, then you smell freshly baked bread.
Wow.
Do you feel?
That's amazing. I've never done that before.
So this is authentic vodka, and it's by taste it's like liquid bread, and it's called polugar. Polugar, that means half burned. In the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, was no alcometers, and the people, consumers, was able to check only by drinking if it's strong or not. But the price was different. So you take a kind of this tool. You pour 2 glasses of this polugar inside, you make it boiling, like you're boiling eggs. And then when it starts to boil, you put the fire inside. We will not do it here because it's prohibited, but still. When the fire starts, you wait until it's finished. When the fire is finished, it's a kind of water inside. And you pour this water in the 2 glasses from the beginning. And it should be 1 glass left instead of 2, so it was called polugar, translated half burnt bread wine. Alcometers was invented. It was checked like 38.5 degrees strength.
Wow.
Look, pirozhki.
Pirozhki, thank you very much. There's one
Welcome
question.
to Russia.
Thank you very
Welcome
much,
to
Ruslan. It's fantastic to be here, but there's one, before I drink it, there's one question I must ask you. There is a stereotype that when you come to Russia and you say cheers, you say na zdarovye, and I tell people that's not what you say. What would you say to people is the best toast you can have?
Right way to tell it's ваше здоровье, your health.
To your health.
To your health.
Well, I was taught the best way to do it is you breathe in, you knock back the vodka and you breathe out again, then you have a sip of juice. So, to your health. And then a little sip of mors, the cranberry juice.
You have followed famous stereotypes about how Russians drink vodka. Normally, this kind of historical vodka, chemical content, it's like single malt whiskey, because vodka was like whiskey 500 years, and only 130 years, it's like right now. So you can sip it not once, but like cognac or like whiskey.
I learned something new. I've been in Russia over 20 years and I had absolutely no idea that I was doing it wrong. So thank you, Ruslan. Okay, so I'll take a little sip. You know, you can
Great
definitely feel
taste.
it. It's not like an ordinary vodka, absolutely. Ваше здоровье. So our head chef here, Vlad, is going to tell us what's inside these lovely pies.
This pie with meat, beef, this with cabbage and eggs, lamb, pumpkin and fish.
Wow. So 5 different types of pies. There you go, guys. Let's take a bite of one of these. Can I try this one? Wow.
It's the best.
That's fantastic. Very impressive. Just what you need after a sip of vodka. Now, when Russians enjoy themselves, they rarely just go to a bar and drink. There's nearly always food involved. There's an extensive menu here we're going to be ordering from. So, Nadezhda, if we could have a nice glass of Russian red wine, please. Bet you didn't know the Russians made wine. They do, and they make white as well. And we're going to have some Siberian dumplings. We're going to have some fish soup with a pastry topping and another beer. So when it comes to Russian food, most people don't really know much about it. I mean, let's face it, there aren't exactly a lot of Russian restaurants dotted around the world. And even if you come to Russia to visit, again, most of the restaurants you'll visit and you think you're eating local food are probably Uzbek or Georgian, and that's if you're not eating sushi or pasta. There are a few Russian restaurants around. Matryoshka is a great example of one. Now, I'm going to ask Vlad here what kind of things the Russians really eat, because what do we know about Russian food? Well, potatoes, beetroot, maybe some pickles and not much else. So, Vlad, what we ordered, you know, the pelmeni, the Siberian dumplings and the fish soup, ukha, is this traditional for what Russians eat?
Да, Люк, то, что вы заказали, пельмени и уха, это очень-очень традиционные русские блюда. Вообще в русской кухне довольно много супов, гораздо больше, чем в какой-либо другой, наверное, европейской кухне. Мы очень любим и щи, и солянки, борщи. И пельмени тоже блюда, которые русские люди едят, особенно зимой, очень часто.
Thanks for that, Vlad. Now, everybody thinks that Russia is cold 12 months of the year. So do you eat lots of soups just because it's cold here?
Ну, во-первых, в России не всегда холодно, у нас тоже бывает лето, бывает жаркое лето. Кстати, летом мы едим холодные супы, окрошку, свекольник. Как испанцы едят гаспачо, мы едим холодные супы. Мы едим супы круглый год. И когда жарко, и когда холодно. Зимой горячие, летом холодные. Очень любим.
So, Nargis, red Russian wine, how is it?
It's fantastic.
So, there you have it. Russians make wine, not only vodka and beer. Right, the food's going to be here soon, so let me ask Ruslan one more question about vodka. Vodka obviously has existed for hundreds of years in this part of the world. How has vodka changed in the last 100 or 200 years?
You know, modern vodka, now in Russia we have 6,000 brands of vodka.
Wow.
6,000.
6,000 brands?
Yes. Earlier, vodka was like single malt whiskey because the rectification technology was not invented yet. So vodka in the 17th century was sold like 5% of all the spirits. And basic spirit was called bread wine. It's like you have tasted before. It's pure, distilled. It's a kind of new make whiskey. And vodka, it was third or fourth distillation with herbs, spices, flowers. First 100 years, vodka was sold in pharmacy only, in small bottles, and it was like medication. And it was vodka against all the illness. So it was about if you catch cold or any medication you have now in pharmacy, it was vodka against this. Because alcohol, when healthy elements dissolved in the alcohol it's like transport it to your body. We have calculated it was 300 different vodkas with different tastes. It can be with cumin, caraway, juniper, vegetables, and 300 different types of vodka. But now you cannot buy them because modern vodka is with pure ethanol spirit, and its name is the same, but taste it's absolutely different.
Well, Ruslan, thank you very much. I had absolutely no idea that it was actually that complicated. We just thought it was a clear liquid. Now, while Ruslan was telling us that, the food's arrived. So this is all thanks to Vlad and his team in the kitchen. Now, Vlad actually has to go back and finish off cooking more food. So I wanted to say thank you very, very much, Vlad. It's been a pleasure to have you here telling us all about it. And we're going to enjoy this now. And Vlad's going to go off and do some more cooking. Right, these are pilmeni, which are a little bit like ravioli, but a Siberian Russian type. Now what you're supposed to do is put sour cream in them, and what we call bouillon, which is a type of hot water. You pour it in. This is a sauce all over, gives it a little bit more flavour. Now let's give one of these a try. Fantastic. Well, Nargis has ordered the ukha, which is a fish soup. Now, given how much access Russia has to the sea, there's a lot of fish in this country and a lot of rivers as well. So, Nargis, give it a try.
Let's try it. It's very delicious.
Can I try a little bit? There we go. Let me have a little bit. Wow. That's fantastic. Let's cut up these pies, see what's inside, and then we can share them around. There we go. Pies are one of the features of Russian cuisine. As Vlad was telling us earlier on, you've got pies that can have cabbage in them, potato, eggs, various types of meat. And you actually get sweet pies as well. They can have apple, cinnamon, and different other fruits in them. They're often come out for dessert. So you've got a whole range here. And often they're served as snacks with the vodka, zakuski as they're known, or they can be eaten before the meal, during, even after. These are fantastic. Right, now Gears, we've got a whole selection of pies here. Which one's your favourite?
I prefer fish one. That's really tasty. What about you?
The one I had right at the beginning, the lamb one, that was absolutely fantastic, especially just after the vodka. So have you ever wanted to know why vodka is 40 degrees? Why is a round number? Well, actually, the Polugar is 38.5. Now, back in the day, when alcometers would register at 38.5, the government decided that this wasn't quite right too difficult to calculate. So back in 1866, the government brought in a law and said vodka is going to be 40 degrees, and that'd be much easier to calculate the tax that people should be paying on vodka. But Polugar today stays at 38.5, just to be difficult. Well, vodka actually has quite an interesting history. It actually dates back formally to 1533, when Ivan the Terrible was only 3 years old, and his father, Vasily III, had been out hunting and wounded himself, and it was reported that vodka was used as an antiseptic to heal a wound on his foot. Now that didn't work, and he ended up dying, so Ivan the Terrible was brought up with no father from the age of 3, and he lost his mother 10 years later from mercury poisoning. So seems to be a bit of a history of poisoning in this country, but that's where vodka originally comes from. You put it on your wounds, but now we consume it internally. Right, well, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of another session. Great shame, because it's been absolutely fantastic here in the Matryoshka restaurant, and it wouldn't have been the same without the Polugar vodka. I've learned a lot of new things tonight, as well as having a great time. So thank you again for being with us for another episode of Luke Jones The Other Way. Make sure you like, share, and keep it going. And then be with us for the next episode. Thank you very much. Спасибо и до свидания. Oh, and if you're still with us, there's a great Russian expression that says vodka without beer, you're wasting your time. So we just prepared a beer just for the finale.